Hello, my loves, and welcome back to what I assume will probably be a slightly contentious episode of Strange Playgrounds. I've been following with some degree of face palming the petition that's been going around regarding Game of Thrones, in which a significant number of people have demanded that the writers rewrite season 8 to their specifications, to their liking, because apparently it disappointed them. Now, it's very easy. It's very bloody easy to just be glib about this and just discount them as being pathetic and entitled and petulant, which is true. I will say that now. It is truer than true. This entire phenomena has left a very bad taste in my mouth. I don't particularly care how disappointing you found a piece of fiction that you identified with. Demanding that the writers rewrite it according to what you want it to be is the very height of entitlement and assumption. It's not your work. I'm really sorry. Whatever criticisms you might level at it, it's not your work. It's nothing to do with you. You don't get to tell people how they create or what they create. If you want something that caters exclusively to your tastes, you know what to do. Go and write it. Go and create it. It's the fact that, the fact that people feel as though this is a personal affront, that they've taken it so seriously that it's almost like it's almost as though someone has offended their religion, which is a whole kettle of fish in and of itself. But dynamically, it's the same. It's as though people have been affronted by this because it has disappointed them. And I think the problem does derive from the same issue, which is that of identity, or rather the lack of it. It does seem to me that we suffer under such a lack of genuine identity, of genuine definition in our current state, in our current cultures, that we latch onto anything. We desperately and neurotically latch onto absolutely anything that pretends to provide even an illusion of identity and definition, which this certainly is. So it's not that you just, oh, I kind of like Game of Thrones, it's kind of fun. It's, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. You know, you have to belong to a fandom. So it becomes cult-like. It becomes a matter of identity rather than a matter of interest. It becomes a matter by which people seem to define themselves. And I'm telling you now, that is a definition based entirely on quicksand. It's not even quicksand. It's not even that substantial. It's smoke. It's smoke in the breeze, as has become evident. And it's that seems to be causing people offence. It's the fact that they have been wounded in what they consider to be the basis of their self, in the same way that someone who identifies with a religious text would be when you question that. And it is as illegitimate. It is as illegitimate in the sense that it is ephemeral. It doesn't even pretend. I mean, one of the things that does distinguish things like Game of Thrones from religion is that Game of Thrones never set out to provide you with an illusion of identity. It never wanted that from you, and it never promised that. So the fact that has been undermined now, well, that should be a wake-up call. That should be something that says, hang on, maybe I need to step back a little bit. And okay, if you have criticisms of the seasons, fine. There's plenty to criticize. That's absolutely fine. But criticize them legitimately. Criticize them with some perspective and scope, not in this whining, petulant, you hurt me fundamentally kind of way, because they didn't. They didn't. And if they did, if the show did hurt you, then you need to get over it. I'm really sorry, but you need to get over it, because it is not worthwhile. It is not worth getting this hurt over. It should demonstrate that there is something lacking fundamentally. If you felt as though that signing this petition was some just and righteous act, or if you feel as though you're fighting back against some grand injustice, you're not. You're not. You are exposing a degree of postmodern and very present day petulance and a lack of definition, a lack of identity, which is, in and of itself, I would say, is not a sickness, but what makes it a sickness is when you simultaneously feel as though you should have a definite identity, which is the problem, it seems to me, because all of our traditions, all of our prescribed narratives tell us, they insist that we should have definite identity, that we should be this and we should be this and we should be that and we should be doing this by this age and we should be feeling this by this age and we should be experiencing this by that age and we should be identifying this way and that way, we should be responding to this with this. But at the same time, we know from our own experience that postmodern culture and the structures that attempt to enshrine these impositions they don't provide any of it. They provide delusions of it. They provide illusions of it. Ephemeral and thin things that are so easily broken. So easily broken. I would say anything that pretends to provide you with identity, with a role, with a sense of self, is lying to you. Especially if that identity, if that role is myopic, if it is narrow, if it is prescribed with very definite bullet points. That's not how humanity works. That is not how the human mind works. It's not how identity forms. And the need to defend those identities that are so flimsy, that are prescribed, it becomes neurotic. It's almost like a parasite that becomes part of the personality. It grafts itself onto the far more protean state that would be genuine personality, genuine identity, and it makes it fossilize. It stills it and makes it stagnant and makes it almost congealed. It's something rotten, it's something polluted, rather than something genuine. And I would say that in most instances, our genuine conditions are far more protean. I think they're far more protean than that. I think that they are, rather than being cathedrals and temples inside, we are oceans. We are shifting conditions. We are, by our natures, ephemeral, and we can transform. We can be better. And part of that is learning how to put down definition, absolute and prescribed definition, as religions would have it, but also as we would create for ourselves. And the Game of Thrones phenomena is a really good example of that to me. People feel wounded because they feel as though something fundamental to them has been undermined, or because it wasn't what they expected it to be. So what? It's just let it go. Find something else to define by. Find some other state. Find some other assumptions, because this is not the way to do it. This is evidence to me of a fundamental abstract sickness, a neurosis that pervades our present-day cultures, and is really problematic. It's really problematic because it's from these conditions that extremists arise, and really dark, hideous, oppressive ideologies arise, because it's often those movements and those ideologies that pretend certainty and are very good at pretending it, and are therefore very attractive. They become very attractive to people who don't have identity, or feel as though they need prescribed identity. They need something to identify by. It's where it comes from. It's how it happens. It's how you get the rise of people like Ben Shapiro and Nigel Farage and Donald Trump and Jordan Peterson and all the rest of them, the talking heads, who are not revolutionaries. They are not some great intellectual spasms. They are old establishment and tradition dressed up in new clothes. They are the oppression. They are the fear of the other. They are the delusions and the pretensions of order and certainty that simply don't exist, insisting upon themselves violently in most instances, and in the most potentially violent way. And this, I know it seems strange to go from Game of Thrones to that place, but that's where it is to me. I can see a clear line. I can see a clear line from that expression to the formulation of extremism. to the enshrinement of extremism, because it's an extreme thing in and of itself, for one thing. To demand that creators bend over and do what you demand of them. Do you have any fucking idea what it would take to rewrite that season and to recreate it? Do you have any fucking clue what that would take? And you are demanding that they do it for you. For you. Because you were a little bit disappointed. Just move on. Find something else. Go and watch something else. Go and experience something else. If it's disappointing, work out why it's disappointing. Learn from it and become better as a result. Refine your tastes. If you're a creator, refine your own creative process. But stop whinging. God. And find something new. Look, turn the eye from the external to things that you're trying to latch onto to provide you with definition and identity, and turn them inward. Turn the eyes inward to that vacuum, to that space inside of you, that hollowness, and find what you can fill it up with. Yeah? Don't expect someone else to do it for you. Don't expect some show or video game or bit of TV to do it for you, because it won't. It won't. And if you want to level criticism, do so, but do it with a considered eye. A very good example, I absolutely fucking loathe Prometheus, as people on this channel will know. I loathe Prometheus. I think it's one of the most absurd and condescending and badly made films I've ever come across. But do I want Ridley Scott to go away and recreate it? No. No. Absolutely not, because I think it stands as an artifact in and of itself. It stands as an artifact of that era, of that time, of what that particular creator was doing, and of perhaps that particular creator's failures. It is in that it has some worthwhile existence. I wouldn't want it recreated. Maybe if he wanted to create something new, something better, then great, fine. But that's up to him. That's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with me. I think people need to step back. I think they need to step back from their fury and from their sense of disappointment, and they need to question why it's so profound, why it's so significant to them. If it is disappointing, then fine. Fine. Absolutely be disappointed. Experience that. But don't take it to the creators in this way. This is not the way to do it. What's going to happen as a result of this is there's going to become a gulf, a void between creators and their fans, and between people who consume the material, which ironically will likely mean that you'll get less of what you want because they're just not going to listen to you. I wouldn't. If you came to me demanding that I rewrite this or rewrite that, I'd tell you to piss off. I tell you to get lost. I really, really would, because I don't write for you. No creator writes for anyone else. They write for themselves. And that's often the best way to do it. It's when you're trying to express something earnest, something legitimate, something that you want to express. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. It's this notion of ownership that really concerns me. Sorry, you don't own it. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to anyone, technically, now that it's out there. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's its own peculiar phenomena. The only thing that exists that you own, that you have responsibility for, are your own reactions, your own emotions, and your own processes in this regard. Those belong to you. Beyond that, they owe you nothing. They owe you absolutely nothing. And you need to get over it. Really, really get over it.